Thank you to the ISFA for giving us this opportunity to give this presentation. My name is Alex Bilotta. I'm the owner of Merrimack Stone, located in Merrimack, New Hampshire, 45 minutes north of Boston, so we're essentially in the greater Boston area. We're a fabricator of countertops that serves the residential as well as the commercial sectors. We've been in business for 25 years in the same location. We're a family-owned business. My brother and I joined the business that our father had started 30 years ago. We're originally from Italy, so we all immigrated over here, and this is the only job that we've ever had. Here at Merrimack Stone, we deal with a variety of surfaces. The ones that are most common are for the countertops are natural stone of all kinds, granite, quartzites, marble. Then of course there's quartz. And then we also are getting more and more into porcelain, both for countertops and for vertical surfaces. And of course Korava, the recycled glass surface. We've expanded over the years and we've tried different product lines and many different categories within the industry. And one of the things that has made this whole journey interesting is the fact that we tried many innovative things, which sometimes failed and which sometimes succeeded. The actual company itself here in Merrimack started with an innovation. I personally had a patent on a machine to slice marble slabs in half so that you could do the thin marble products on aluminum honeycomb. And that was the original intent of this company, was to produce that product, which we did for a few years, and then it kind of got phased out for a variety of reasons. So that's a typical example where we had an innovation, then the world changed. China entered the picture. They could do the same product at a much cheaper price, and so just because we had come up and worked hard on an innovation, it didn't mean that we were going to close the company because that innovation was no longer pertinent to our market. We just started doing a different line of products, because otherwise the options are two: you either close or you do something new. So whenever we're faced with that option, we do something new. One of the innovations we implemented, as my brother Paolo has explained to you, is Korava. It was a recycled glass product that we came up with because we saw an opportunity there for a product like that. And then we innovated. After creating the product, we actually innovated the way the product itself is made. The workability of it is exactly like quartz. It's got the same physical characteristics of quartz. We just replaced the majority of the quartz with pieces of glass, but it fabricates and installs exactly the same as quartz does. No special tooling or anything like that. So for all intents and purposes, on the fabrication side, Korava is under the family of quartz. On the selling side and as a product itself, of course it isn't, because it's mostly glass. You all know it's been a very challenging year due to the pandemic. We've had to make some changes that are unlike previous changes. One of them was to try to have more virtual interaction with our customers, particularly for the customers who there's different levels of sensitivity regarding the virus and the exposure to it. So we tried to cater to all customers, including the ones that want to minimize their in-person interaction. So one thing we did is we created a virtual experience, or at least we're in the process of improving that, because I think that's going to be here to stay regardless. I think the pandemic accelerated something that was going to be happening anyway. We created also a new part of the company called CustomVanityTop.com, where you can select items for your vanity tops, and they don't necessarily have to be from remnants. You know, remnants are what's left over of a slab, and I feel sometimes that the sale of remnants is what's left over of the sale of other things. So even the customer experience for vanity tops feels like a leftover of what the real customer experience should be. The intent of CustomVanityTop.com was to increase the number of items that we sell as vanity tops without having to wait for the remnant to be generated. We selected 20 or 25 colors, and they're higher. Some of them are higher end colors, some of them are porcelain, some of them are Korava, the recycled glass product, and we essentially do the process in reverse. We know that we're going to use those slabs strictly for vanity tops, and we assign a value to each part of the slab prior to selling the vanity top. And that's one way that we're able to be competitive on selling vanity tops and giving customers a bigger choice and a reliable array of colors that are available. The addition of selling cabinets along with countertops benefits both our company and, more importantly, the customers. They have a one-stop shop, basically. A lot of times we find out that the customers that there's a lot of waiting and poor experience regarding coordination of the cabinet purchase and installation and the countertops. And if we can do that all under one roof, I think the customers are very appreciative. The way we're trying to do this is to have qualified people on staff that are just as qualified about cabinets as other members of staff are qualified about countertops. So that way the customer really feels like they're not dealing with a countertop company that is also trying to sell cabinets. Early signs are that this is going to be a successful venture. On the side of the company, it's also beneficial because it allows us to, well, first of all, remove some of the headaches of coordinating with the cabinet installation, and then of course increase revenues in a way that is easier than just by selling more countertops and having more customers with countertops. So you can have higher revenues with the same number of customers. So I'll give you a tour of our facility. That way you can see some of the things I talked about in action. Okay, so this is the Merrimack Stone showroom. As a customer, this is where you would walk in. And we have a showroom that's a little different than most in the sense that it's a hybrid of a warehouse and office setting. Let me show you around the showroom. Here we have an area that has all the quartz brands. There's so many of them nowadays that it's overwhelming, but we do have to show them all because you'll always get the occasional customer that wants a particular brand. These are our salespeople. And this is where the slabs are. So we're seeing an upsurge in quartzite sales recently. It's kind of the new trend. They're difficult to work with in terms of fabrication, but they are becoming popular even though they're quite expensive because they have the marble look without having the physical downsides of marble. This is our socially distanced place to have conversations with customers during the age of COVID. The vast majority of our templates are done digitally with laser templating. And most of the time we don't need a physical template that is printed from the digital one, but occasionally some stuff needs to be done by hand, and so we actually print. In those cases we print a plastic version of the digital template. This is porcelain, which is another one of the new product categories that is starting to gain a little bit of traction. We have been dealing with porcelain now for over 3 years. We still haven't seen the surge that some of the other parts of the country are seeing, especially California, Florida, and some of the bigger cities. I think sooner or later it's coming. We still use it mostly for vertical surfaces. So for instance, this is a fireplace surround made with 6mm porcelain. So occasionally we do these surrounds like that. This is all porcelain, and this has taken off actually more so than the porcelain countertops. These are all 6mm thick, which is a 1/4 inch, and it's become quite popular. And customers like this a lot. We can be in and out of the bathroom on the same day with the installation, as opposed to installing tiles, which takes a long time. And of course, it doesn't have the grout joints that the tiles have, which is one of the main issues with tiles that customers have. Presently, porcelain is extremely expensive. In our case, we managed to bring the price down for two reasons. One is that we actually import the porcelain directly from the country of origin, which in this case is Italy. And secondly, we have a lot of experience in working with it, so we no longer make the mistakes that beginners make when they work with porcelain, which is mostly breakage during fabrication. So we managed to keep the price so that it's similar to an installed tile shower surround. So this is the Korava product, the recycled glass product. Some of the colors have, one in particular that is a very big seller, has seashells in it, which is an interesting variant. Actually, the seashells themselves are recycled. They come either from button factories, so whenever they cut mother of pearl buttons out of the seashells, what's left over of that is what we then crush and use for our product. That's why sometimes you will see some semicircular shapes in there. That's what's left over of the button. So next I'm going to take you inside the fabrication shop, which has, a bunch of different machines and obviously, parts that do different things to the product. So obviously there's the cutting component, then there's the CNC routing component, there's the edge polishing by machine, and then there's the hand polishing and final detailing of the pieces. This is a useful little device that we came up with to connect the two buildings and to move slabs that were selected by customers and to bring them into the shop without having to use the forces. So this is actually an interesting machine. During my travels, wherever I used to go overseas, to China, India, of course Europe, whenever I saw a piece of equipment that caught my eye, I tried to see if I could use it. This is basically a calibrating machine, so it mills down basically any material to a lower thickness. So a lot of times now we use it to go from 3 centimeters to 2 centimeters, which happens with backsplashes most of the time. So instead of having to do it on tying up one of the other machines, it's an automated machine that we just send a piece through and it can work unattended, and it just mills the pieces down in one shot, which is extremely handy. So we have two automated edge polishing machines. They're both Montresors. One of them is a Luna and the other one is a Lola. We use the Luna for everything that is a straight run, that has eased edges. The nice thing with the Lola, of course, is that with the Luna, is that it rounds the edges top and bottom, and so the piece is pretty much finished. The Lola, the smaller one, we use for backsplashes and for pieces that don't necessarily have to have an eased edge. Also, the beauty of having them in line is if something comes off the first machine and it's not perfectly polished, we run it straight through the second one and usually finish it off so that we don't have to touch it by hand anymore. Having these two machines run properly is huge. It's like having 5 or 6 people polishing by hand, basically, and one person can easily run both machines at all times. So this is where we keep the remnants that we're going to be selling, at least the ones that have been already photographed and numbered. Some of them are true remnants, some others are things that broke on the way to the job site or whatever, which is also a remnant. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a good way to display them because that way customers don't have to flip through the various remnants. Yeah, so one of the issues with storing materials is that A-frames are obviously convenient, but the problem with them is that whenever you have multiple slabs on an A-frame, particularly of different colors, in this case, it's not an extreme case, but it kind of shows what I'm talking about. If you have to get to this slab, you have to first move this slab somewhere else, then this slab somewhere else, so that you can get to this, and then you have to put these back in. So we're in the process of having more and more A-frames made with poles, so you can basically shuffle through pieces without having to move them out of the way. Okay, so that's our tour of Merrimack Stone. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to the ISFA for letting us do this, and I'll be available to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.